Um, Jackson Hinkle versus Sam Seder. I'm going to go ahead and get the elephant in the room out. As far as dog in this fight's concerned, I can't really say I got one. If I had to go with one side or the other, I would probably lean more towards the Jackson Hinkle side. I would say I probably find him to be a more genuine guy than Sam Seder. Well, that's because I don't find a damn thing about Sam Seder to be genuine, other than the fact that he is a fucking hack. I find that to be genuine, but that's about it. Okay. So however they got this thing organized, if you don't know, Jackson Hinkle runs a show called Dive. Sam Seder, the Majority Report. He's got people like Emma Vigeland over there, used to be with TYT. Okay. Sam Seder, for the most part, has made a reputation out of just Jimmy Dore, Jimmy Dore, Jimmy Dore, Jimmy Dore, Jimmy Dore, Jimmy Dore, Jimmy Dore. Now, I'll reference Jimmy Dore, but I don't put his name in every title of my video for fucking clicks. If I did, I might have a bigger channel by now, but I'm trying to grow the channel through the shit that I'm actually talking about, quality of content, not just so much clickbait bullshit and using a bigger channel's name all the time to get my views. You know, some people do, and I'm not even going to say that they're doing something nefarious. You know, I mean, the algorithm's fucking us over, so you got to do what you got to do to try to get the views in at some point, right? But ultimately, this guy is about just like his, I would say sister network, TYT. They're stagnated. I think a lot of people aren't buying what they're selling anymore. And they might still be subscribed, but they're just not watching their shit. It's not happening, right? So to get views, and Hinkle brought these points up, and I think he's onto something here. He's going with someone like Jimmy Dore because there are a group that want to hear him shit all over Jimmy Dore. So they're going to tune in. But then you're going to have the Jimmy Dore crowd that are going to tune in on top of that and say they want to hear just what he's saying about Jimmy Dore and get all pissed and go to the comment section and rip him a new asshole. They can't really ratio him with the dislikes because, well, YouTube said they don't want to have that feature anymore. So dislikes are gone. The only way you can really ratio someone on YouTube now is to just blow up that comment section. But if it seems like someone's getting, copy pasted in the comment section, well, they'll start deleting those too. So how do you really keep that up? So anyway, they set up this debate. And from what I could gather when I watched it, seems like what Hinkle wanted to debate Seder on was why he doesn't hold the squad more accountable. And Seder, the majority of the time, supposedly, this is just how he looks all the time. Anyhow, just sitting there like, to everything Hinkle's saying, like he's either very confused or very stoned. I don't know which. It seems like it's one of the two. Okay. But that being said, Seder's argument back was that he does hold the squad accountable. He does hold the AOCs, and he will disagree with them on this and that. But it seemed like he could not wrap his head around why Jackson Hinkle is calling the squad sellouts. So here we go with the old Kyle Kalinske argument. They're not getting anything financially in return for this sellout. Like, they're not getting bought off, per se. Well, Hinkle responded with, some of them have taken Soros money. Now, here's where immediately Sam becomes full of shit. Full of shit. Full of it. Okay? Well, how much money have you taken from George Soros? He tells him, it's only like so many thousand. We're not talking in the millions, right? I don't even think it was like tens of thousands. But it was in the thousands. And basically, Sam's like, oh, so they, yeah, just a little over $1,000, whatever. Yeah, that bought them off. Yep, buddy, that did it. You're full of shit, man. Full of shit. We all know your ilk would turn to any fucking Republican if a Republican took money from a neo-Nazi group. If they took about $1,000 from, I don't know, the KKK and accepted it and did not send it back, you people would be over it. See, well, the amount doesn't matter. They're not calling them out and they're taking money. You'd be all over that shit like a fucking hog on slop, man, and you damn well know it. You damn well know it. But when it's AOC and her group, well, it's got to be over a certain, it's like a height requirement for rides at the fair, right? If it's not over a certain threshold, it don't fucking matter. Well, hey, Sam, I thought they ran off of smaller donations anyway, right? Like, this is the squad. They're not taking all this big PAC money in the first place, right? Since they're not taking big PAC money, big corporate interests money, they're not raking in millions and millions. It's all supposed to be smaller donations anyhow. So if Soros is donating smaller amounts, isn't that just kind of blending in with the rest of the PAC? Is it that those few thousands or whatever don't really make that big of a dent in anything when you consider ultimately it's all mostly grassroots shit anyway, I thought, though, right? So a few thousand probably might actually do something for what they're trying to do. He don't need to give them $1 million. Nobody else is. They're not running that kind of campaign. But fuck, Sam. Even if, okay, they are not being bought off financially, there's more than one way to be a sellout. Namely, they're putting the fact they don't want to be challenged by the Democrat establishment up front. They don't want to buck the system too hard because they like where they're at. And they can sit there and sheep herd people to the party and promise them a whole lot of shit that they're not going to deliver on, won't even put up a good fight on, okay? And then at the end of the day, blame it on this or that or the other, but they're not even trying to fight. But ultimately, what they care more about, just like we talked about Neil Young earlier, caring about Neil Young, they care about themselves. They want to stay in Congress or move on to become a senator. They care about career growth and keeping what they've got. Even though it was AOC who said she would be okay with being a one-term congresswoman fighting for the shit she ran on. But she didn't do that. You know? And so Sam's response is, well, I don't put all that stock into everything that politicians say. So, okay, so you acknowledge politicians will lie for votes. So, Sam, if you acknowledge that, why are you praising them at all? Like, if you acknowledge they're going to do that to you, why even fucking praise them? Why don't you just say, look, this is what they say. I don't expect them to even really do that much. They're a politician. No. You're trying to, when they tell you they're going to do something, oh, yeah, rah, rah, hoo, hoo. Let's go. Go for the squad. But when they don't, well, what can you do? The only point I think he kind of got Hinkle on to some extent was when he would say, like, yeah, they got these things passed in the House. It failed in the Senate. Okay, good point there. But that's where you got to use your leverage to get the whole Democrat establishment to whip the people in the Senate in line, not just in the House. That's going to go beyond Pelosi. That point, it goes to Biden. Whenever Hinkle brought up the point of basically leverage your vote on anything you can to force the vote, and it fucking cracked me up every time he said that. What do you mean by force the vote? What do you mean by that, Jackson? What does force the vote even mean? Leveraging your
their agenda, concessions for their
forcing votes. What are you talking about? What does that mean, forcing votes?
vote, and they wound up getting that a couple of times. But any damn time Hinkle tried to say something that would start backing him into a corner, Sam just got that confused ass look on his face. What do you mean, Jackson? Jackson. We got to have some decorum here. We got to have. What do you mean? Like that man said probably, what do you mean, as many times as he said Jimmy Dore when he went on Brianna Joy Gray's show. Arguably, he said, what do you mean that many times if you go back and listen to that shit show. Okay, so what do you mean, Jackson? That should have literally trended like that. What wound up going around was the I don't care part that came towards the end. But what really should have been in there was, what do you mean? So literally, Sam, what you're telling us is you're a fucking idiot and don't know what any of this shit means. Wow, that's great. So we should all listen to you. Okay. So he still tried to defend the whole thing about with force to vote that, you know, the Republican could have wound up being Speaker of the House, you know. He tried to defend that argument, but the biggest thing is he then tried to sit there. First of all, they muted his mic, which now, to be fair, Jackson Hinkle would cut Hinkle off, but Hinkle would kind of go on and on and on and on and on, making a really long point, which you're on that guy's show. Like, just to be devil's advocate, right? I do kind of feel like, in a way, Hinkle was trying to railroad it into becoming a shit show. I do. Because instead of making a point, him responding, and like a debate, this back and forth, Hinkle would just go on. I mean, he would soapbox. And I'm not saying some of the shit he was saying was wrong, but he was soapboxing on that guy's show. Now, to be fair, I bring you on my show for a debate. You're not going to dominate the conversation on my own show. I mean, equal time here, equal time, right? You're not going to dominate the whole conversation on my fucking channel. We're just not having that. It's not how I feel about it. I do think that could piss someone off if you're the host of that show and you bring someone on and they just want to hog the spotlight to say everything that they want to say. Okay. But that being said, so they mute Hinkle. Don't take him off mute. Claim. So now some people claim Hinkle did this intentionally to try to frame him. Either way, they remove him. He goes back on. They debate a little bit longer. His camera went out at some point. I mean, this whole thing, if I just got to sum it up, really, it was a whole fucking shit show and a half. Really. Now, ultimately, I do think Hinkle did a far better job of articulating his arguments than Sam, but still, at the same time, I do think there were sometimes where Sam would toss him some of these stupid questions. I do think Hinkle missed the mark a couple of times. You know, like literally when he's sitting there saying, why should they leverage their vote on this or that or whatever? I can't go back verbatim, but I just feel like some of the responses he gave weren't as strong as they could be. The other thing, though, is when Sam tries to claim, well, if they just buck everything, it's only going to hurt them in the long run. Well, don't Joe Manchin do it all the time? That's one fucking guy. Yeah, he's in the Senate, but what the fuck's the difference? He's got the power because the vote is that split. He and Kyrsten Sinema can control the whole fucking thing. The whole damn thing. So you're telling me when the Congress is pretty damn close to, that the Progressive Caucus couldn't do the same damn thing if they wanted to, even just a few of them band together, they could have their fucking way or just not vote any damn thing that needs to be passed through until they get what they want. And if they can't whip Manchin into shape, then encourage them, then you need to start putting someone up against them. The primary, that son of a bitch. Not unheard of, right? So, but they don't want to leverage anything that way. At any damn time it came time for them to fight, they've always given up. But ultimately, for everyone who thought this was, look, hey, I appreciate seeing Sam Seder get taken to task as much as anyone, but ultimately, a lot of people have been kind of going on and on about this whole debate. I do think Jackson did a good job at making certain points in there. And I do think ultimately he won, but having a better argument than Sam Seder isn't really that hard to do. And at one damn point, they were debating him 3-on-1. You got Sam chiming in, one of the producers chiming in. You got freaking Emma Vigeland chiming in. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I think that debate was just one big clusterfuck, honestly. It really was. You know, I really don't think anybody would have heard anything that knew what was going on and learned something that great from it, honestly. I really just found it to be one giant clusterfuck. So